That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yeah, because it's mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have gathered here today for the ultimate testing of ability. Mano a mano, man versus man. Two men enter the cage of destiny. One comes out victorious. That's right, it's the TrashRats, Rats in a Cage matchup. The one and only Gonzo School coming in to take down the king himself, the bout rounder himself, the king of the knife, the children's suicide influencer, the one and only Rusty Cage.
Oh, jeez, man, I didn't realize we were going full steam as a fight, but
that's right.
But welcome, Gonzo,
and I'm also here,
and also Reactor. So Gonzo, should we call you Gonzo, or do you have a different name you like to go by?
Oh, you can just
call him School.
Yeah, you can call me School. No, you can call me Gonzo. That's fine.
True. Yeah, so Gonzo, of course, is the one who made the initial video that we've been kind of talking about on the past few episodes of the podcast. It was Rusty Cage, copyright for thee. And it was, I guess, not a takedown. We were calling it a takedown, but I don't think that you would agree that that's what it was. More of just maybe a criticism of how I talked about the Knife Game song melody. And then also, you had a follow-up video where you were comparing that melody with other melodies to say, show the similarities.
Yeah, I think that one was called Rusty Cage Copyright Cuck. Huge cuck prize.
Right. No. See, that's what this debate is going to be. Potentially.
About how much you actually hate Rusty?
No, it's going to... No, but it was Copyright Cope, I think, was the live stream.
I think Copyright Cuck would fit too.
Copyright Cuck.
Now, there were a few things on that second video. I didn't watch the entire thing because I was just trying to hit like all the major points I think you were making. And I thought it was a pretty solid video, even though I didn't necessarily agree with everything you were saying. But I'm interested, how would you describe your intentions on that initial video that you put out?
So the first video, my intention is essentially to point out the issue at the individual level of copyright and how it's used as a censorship tool. It's basically used to hurt artists, and unfortunately, I think the people who are largely allowing this to happen, fostering this to happen, are artists.
Right.
So that was basically my point. So it's I believe a real life example of why it can be a problem, because one artist will say, my work, has been stolen, and then, they'll use someone else's work at another time, or they did it in the past. And so it's like everybody steals. Everybody makes derivative stuff. We've all been influenced. There is no vacuum for art.
The main difference is that when Rusty does it, it's intentional.
Usually, yeah.
When he's ripping off art, he's like, okay, I'm going to be as malicious as possible, find something that nobody's talking about, and make it my own.
He had me fooled.
I'll get into that. Oh yeah. No, I had everyone fooled until I realized that I was incorrect. Well, okay, so more specifically, like you made me the main focus of the video, while I think the overall topic was just, should music be copyrighted? But one of the words that kept coming up was that I was a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
right.
I think that you kind of misinterpreted what I was saying. In the clip that you used was from one of my question and answer videos where someone had asked me, am I tired of getting tagged in the Ken dog drip like me, which I at the time had thought that the Knife Game song was the only song that I'd heard that was just similar enough to that I could say, yeah, I made that. Now, what my complaint was I just wanted to play the Ken Dog song, and since I do technically have a copyright on the composition of the music and the lyrics, because that's how they separate it whenever you do get a copyright on it, I was upset because I couldn't play the Ken Dog version because UMG, I think it was UMG, that owns the Ken Dog song, blocked it, which I thought that was funny. They're using their copyright to stop me from playing the song. So that was my grievance. But I don't think I didn't take any actions. I didn't sue Ken Dog. I didn't try to do a takedown or anything at all. It was just me saying, yeah, well, I can't even play it because they have a copyright on just even the melody. I didn't use like the lyrics. I was just using the clip that had the melody in it. So again, I ask, what part of that makes me a hypocrite?
Well, the hypocritical thing is when you when you make music, and I can understand if somebody's like not a musician and they don't understand, but they understand that the methods of making music are limited. There are only so many notes, only so many chord progressions. And essentially, if you come out and you just say, like maybe somebody steals your work, right? They so-called steal your work. You've also stolen from other people, And so there isn't really like, it's kind of to be expected. It's like with hip hop music. When hip hop started, it was, laying down, it was taking beats actually from pre-existing songs. And at the time it was like a legal gray area. And it was like, well, I guess this is okay. Everybody's doing it. So they're sampling these records and they're making beats and they're layering them and kind of making them into something different. And, everybody thought that was fine until a legal action happened. And finally the record companies came out and said, you can't do this anymore. And they sued all these artists for it. And so the problem is that when one person wants to say, I own this, and you don't even own it. We don't own ideas. We don't own melodies. We don't treat these things like real property, but the law wants us to. The law gets us thinking that we own these melodies and these things like physical property.
Well, why would it not be physical property? Essentially, everything is physical, but why?
Because you can't handle it.
I do want to get into that. You were saying like, well, you can handle a record, or in the sense of a lot of these record companies that were suing the hip hop artists, they weren't suing because of the musical composition. They were suing because, probably that too, but also because of the recording. Yeah, so they own that recording. Now, you can say sound isn't physical, but obviously it's a physical thing that we interact with all the time. Now, is it something you can hold in your hand, and is that what you describe as physical? And that's the thing. So only if it's something you can hold in your hand is it something that you actually own. Is that a point that you were making?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can have like I'm trying to think of like another way you could cut it, but pretty much like, you own the deed to a house, you have a physical house, you have a physical car, you have a physical, but when you own the copyright to a melody, you basically own the copyright to math. You own the copyright to something that anybody could reproduce and not know that they've even reproduced it.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Like if I painted a picture of a German Shepherd, it's not going to be exactly the same as one of the most famous pictures or paintings of a German Shepherd that exists. It's going to be slightly different in my own way.
Yeah, but that's a painting.
Unless I photocopy the most famous painting of a German Shepherd.
Well, yeah, obviously with paintings and like visual art, it's going to be a little bit different. But with music, like for example, like there's this TED Talk of this copyright lawyer. I put it in the description, I think, on the live stream. I didn't get the chance to talk about it, but it was basically, he was talking about a bunch of different lawsuits over melodies. And one of them was Tom Petty. And of course he has the song and it's like, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. And another artist had written a song and it was
Sam Smith.
Yeah. And it was just a totally like, I don't want to say it was like a totally different context, but it was a different vibe to the song. There was a lot of different stuff going on. And he used the same melody. And his claim was that he'd never even heard Tom Petty's song. He's like, dude, I haven't even heard your song.
It's one of the most famous songs in the world.
No, but Reactor, we say that. I think about this a lot. Like, we're older than Sam Smith, and probably it's very possible that, like, because I think in that TED Talk, they referenced the fact that Sam Smith said he was born after the song even came out. Like, it's plausible that he never heard this major hit that came out 30 years before he was born.
Maybe he never heard it.
Music. And he's never heard one of the most famous songs in the world.
Sure.
It could be a subconscious thing too. You could hear something and like later you're going to write a song and you're just kind of like fiddling around the keyboard. I have a personal story of one time I was actually sitting at a keyboard in the presence of some friends and I was just like kind of noodling around and I made this riff and it was like da 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 da, and somebody said, "Oh, that's Sunglasses at Night." And I was like, what? And it was a song I'd never heard before. And then I listened to it and I was like, wow, that is the same thing. So you can accidentally copy something. And if that happens to make it into a published song, it happens to be a hit, then they can sue you for it and claim that.
But part of it is that it becomes a hit because it's already a hit. So if I accidentally recreate Sunglasses at Night and it goes super viral, it's not going super viral because people are like, oh, I like this new song. It's because they're already programmed with that melody in their head. And they're like, I recognize this and I enjoy this because for some reason, my memory is telling me this is enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. And there's only so many melodies that are enjoyable. There's like
melodies that are enjoyable.
It's an algorithm.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So Gonzo, you were talking about earlier this TED Talk and I watched that just so I could understand exactly what he was saying. And essentially what this guy had done, him and his partner, they had taken an entire, I think they only did they do all 12 notes in an octave?
I think they actually got, they got through the whole octave. Yeah.
So they got one octave, all 12 notes, sharps and flats, and they made every possible combination of those notes.
I've seen that,
I forget. Like, was it 10 different notes in the melody and using all 12 piano notes or whatever.
Syncopation matters.
Well, syncopation matters too, but either way, he kept saying like, there's a very finite amount of melodies, but if you take 10 notes, I posted this graphic in the guest chat channel. If you take 10 notes and get every possible combination of those notes over using a 13 note octave, you end up with 75 billion possible combinations, which that's going to cut out a lot of things that are probably unlistenable, like just random combinations of like, I don't know, a D sharp and an E together with like a bunch of other shit. Things that are going to be unlistenable and not really recognized as music. However, that's still a lot of combinations.
So what you're saying is there are 75 billion potential songs out there, and you still copied Chicky Morena.
Yeah, well, I do. All right, so God, there's a lot of things I have written down. I left my notepad in the other room.
Go get it!
But see, there's
okay. All right, give me one.
But
second.
nobody owns Chicky Morena, right?
Rusty thinks he does.
I have the copyright.
Rusty has the copyright for Chicky Morena.
Yeah, Rusty is secretly a Puerto Rican child. We had no idea.
Another part of the copyright law is that if I write a song and I posted my Facebook 10 years ago and it's got one like, no one ever heard it, and then someone makes a viral song similar to it, it's got nothing to do with me, even though I did post it first and I may even have the copyright. I can't prove that they heard my song because only one person did, and it was probably my mom. You know what I'm saying?
Let's first get, because I don't think that Gonzo, I don't think you're very interested necessarily in the whole idea of just like the copyright on the melody. I mean, that was a major point, but I think your whole theory on copywriting music is much more interesting. So let's just try to close up the knife game thing. All right, so in that first video, I thought, where I disagree with you is I thought you were incredibly wrong by saying that Miss Susie Had a Steamboat sounded liked the knife game. And then in your second video where you did a melody shootout where you put the knife game melody and then all these other melodies. I don't have the thing pulled up. This is what I wanted to play on the live so you could all hear it. But your melody for Miss Susie Had a Steamboat that you programmed in did not sound like Miss Susie Had a Steamboat. I think you took a lot of liberties to kind of make it sound a lot closer to the knife game. And if you listen to even the songs that you had on your first video, you can see that those are clearly different songs. The pacing of the notes are off. The notes are all different. I made my own version of it, which I'll splice in somewhere, maybe right here, just so people can see.
Should we do some reactions like we just heard it?
Oh wow,
oh
that
shit!
was so different.
Gonzo School just got schooled.
I should have uploaded the videos of something because I did want you to hear this. The problem that I've been having, I'm having like audio issues, so I couldn't play this audio while recording so everyone could hear. But I programmed in all these songs as well to the same tempo and the same key, and I got I think it was 12 out of 27 notes were different between the knife game and Miss Susie Had a Steamboat. Granted,
so
there
you
are
only
a lot of
copied
different
half
variations.
the homework.
Well, it's so I'm wondering, do you actually think those songs sound similar enough to say that the knife game is a ripoff of Miss Susie Had a Steamboat?
Well, I mean, that's your words that, it's a ripoff. I'm not saying it's a ripoff, and I'm also not saying that you intentionally, copied anything.
No,
and
I know
you did that maliciously, right? But
I know you're not saying that, but I mean that definitely was a major point in the video that I think the last thing I said that you used the clip of was I wanted to make this song sound like it was one that had been around forever, and then you say, well, because it has, and then you keep referencing that Miss Susie Had a Steamboat was an original version of the knife game melody, and that was my initial thing that perturbed me. I was like, what the fuck? That doesn't sound anything the same.
Yeah, well, I think obviously it's not exactly the same, but it's similar enough to where I think, and I'm not a lawyer, this is my non-lawyer opinion, but just based on how these lawsuits and these things usually go, I don't think it's different enough to constitute an original work that, say, like you wanted to sue somebody for it. They'd say, well, yeah, it's not really original enough because and actually this exact thing happened with Led Zeppelin. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I did, but real quick, hold that thought. You say it's not similar enough. So what I'm saying is whenever I put all the MIDI notes following the melodies of the versions of the song that you were playing, I got 12 out of 27 that were different. So meaning that the similarities are only 56%. That's pretty different to say that something's the same and half of it is but not even the same notes at all.
You also have to understand that, like with these lawsuits, sometimes there'll be 4 notes that someone sues over, and 2 of those notes are different, but they still win the suit anyway.
Well, yeah, sure. The court system is fucked up, and copywriting a melody is a very odd thing to take to court, which obviously is why I didn't do anything against Ken Dog, because I think you even played that clip on the podcast where I said it was petty. It would be petty to do that. So Petty. At what point? So then I guess the hypocrisy is that I make music, and obviously we're all, like you ended your video saying, we're all on the shoulders of giants. Nothing is obviously original. Everything has already been written before, and it's just slight variations of it. But the hypocrisy is that I didn't do anything. I don't know, just that I was upset by the idea.
Well, yeah, and that's pretty much exactly what I'm saying, because, and I'm not innocent of this either. I'm not better than you or anybody. There was a point where I thought that, I owned the stuff that I created. It kind of makes sense if you think about it. It's like, okay, well, I made this melody or I made this song, and it's and it's original and it's mine. And the hypocrisy comes in when you realize, like, hold on a second, there really isn't anything new under the sun. And this is why the public domain had to be created. It was because basically it was bound to happen. People were bound to create songs that sounded like something that was old. Like with Led Zeppelin, there was that one band, I can't remember their name, but was it Taurus or something? They created this song, and then a while later, Led Zeppelin made Stairway to Heaven, and the band said, "Hey, you stole our melody." And what happened was, and it's that classic, Stairway to Heaven, sound, and you listen to the original and it's like, wow, that's really similar. But then the lawyers dug back and they found this 400-year-old song called the Jackfish. And there was a quartet group that recorded it, and it sounds pretty much exactly like Stairway to Heaven. And so, I think it is hypocritical to say, I created this 100% original thing that no one else can use.
Well, what do you mean no one else can use?
And you also use musical, instrumentation, composition that other musicians have used.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to push any sort of authority on Ken Dog. I'm not telling him he can't use it. I'm saying, first off, here's why I got a copyright on the Knife Game song, is because this was, as far as I knew at the time, an original. The melody it sounds like Chicky Morena. I guess we can just all agree that Chicky Morena sounds pretty close to the Knife Game. That there's like two notes that are different, but it's not different enough that like someone could clearly say it's a different tune. But I copyrighted it because I had this product, this thing that I had created, these lyrics, this not necessarily even just putting it to the actual physical action of playing the Knife Game, the chords backing it up. And at that point, a lot of people were saying, oh yeah, this is instantly public domain. The lyrics are public domain. Anyone can make this. Any company, any website that wants to exploit it and make money off of it, any TV show that wants to just play these clips because it's a viral clip and now they can capitalize on it, but then I can't because I have no rights on it. And then if someone did want to claim that they had a copyright on it, they could do a takedown of me. So then I could be the one who ends up getting the shit for like...
The copyright cuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then I would be the copyright cuck. So just to cover my basis, I said, all right, I can see that this thing is getting big. I should probably register it and register the copyright. So if something ever did came up, then I at least have done this early on. It's clear, it's in the system that I have a copyright on this. Now if something does come up, Ken Dog comes out with a song. If he's going to claim that he's never heard the Knife Game melody, I mean, that would be kind of ridiculous because it was worldwide.
That's right.
Fucking millions of views.
He's not a fan of German television, evidently.
Yeah, apparently not. So,
what a dick. Who even is Ken Dog? Well, is that somebody older or younger than us?
I think he's younger, probably.
Okay.
I mean, it's not. I there's always the benefit of the doubt. We don't really know. I think it would be interesting to actually talk to Ken Dog about it to see what he would have to say.
I wanted to do that.
I could hit him up.
Maybe get Ken Dog on the podcast.
I mean, he is making mad views because of TikTok, but he's not like a huge established rapper. Like he's pretty new on the scene.
Right. Do you think he'll come on with Tim Pool in episode 50?
I can see that happening.
Probably.
Episode 50 with Tim Pool and Ken Dog, but just them?
Yeah. Hey, sorry for sending all the people over to your videos.
Well, Reactor, could you handle that if we sent somebody to Tim's house and had just the two of them record a TrashRats? Could you produce that and send it to us?
Yeah, probably.
So we don't have to do any work for a whole episode?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So we'll get Tim and Ken Dog on the scene. Make the list of questions, Gonzo. What did you want to ask him? Well,
I mean, it'd just be interesting to know if he recalls hearing the Knife Game, or
Ask him if he has all his fingers.
yeah, just ask him to to just spill it. Like what happened.
Ask him what happens if he hits
like,
the
how did
spaces
you-
in between.
Hey,
just
so
like
Ken
what
Dog
was
didn't
your
make the beat.
process?
He got the beat from somebody else.
Oh, so did he not?
That's
Did he
that's
not
actually-
produce the song?
No, he didn't.
Probably didn't produce it.
What a lot of the rappers do is they just go online and find a producer who's selling $50 beats that they mass produce in their bedroom.
Or they go to youtube.com, type in free rap beat, download the first clip.
And this is like the greater issue of the whole thing, right? Because it's the same thing with public domain music. Even if something actually is public domain and the recording is public domain, which is kind of rare, people will still like remix clips of the song, or they'll use it and then they'll put that in the content management system. And so you're really restricted as far as using stuff that actually is public domain for that reason.
For sure. I've definitely used a sample of, now granted, this probably wasn't in public domain because isn't it like 70 years before even a recording, or is it just a composition would be put into public domain, if you know that?
I think
It's just
Disney
the
made it so it
composition.
has to be 550 years before it's public domain.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so yeah,
All,
all right,
all
here's
like melodies.
Hypocrite
all,
Rusty.
Yeah.
I was using a sample of a 2001 Space Odyssey, one of the songs from the soundtrack, and I got a content ID strike from someone who also used that sample in their song. And I was like, I've never heard this song. Also, that's not the original song, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so the thief is copywriting you for stealing. It's a thief
I tried
accusing
this.
a thief.
I actually tried to record the just the piano part for Ken Dog's song and made it sound as similar as I could, and then upload it to YouTube to see if it would get picked up, and it did not. So that experiment went all for naught.
Well, see, I see what I see what you mean, by like your, like, so why did you make this video?
Yeah, that initial video, it seemed I think you put me in a poor light. But then also you didn't really back it up though. Like that first one didn't back it up, and it seemed like in the second video, the follow up, you were kind of like trying to sweep up the. mess that you made.
Rusty, this is a guy. I mean, nothing against Gonzo School, but he's not making videos that he's expecting Rusty Cage to maybe watch every episode of. Like he's making videos with approximately, would you say, like 100-ish views per video? Maybe he doesn't need to dedicate 100,000 hours to make sure Rusty doesn't come across as a dumb asshole in his video.
Well,
no, but I think that you actually do have a passion for it. Or about it.
Yeah, well, my mission isn't to be, nice to people. It's to be honest.
That's right.
And the thing is I can see, I'm not sure that I understand where you're coming from with this, because I see like, because when I saw this video come out, right? So this video comes out, right? And you pointed out that, hey, okay, look, so this song's, people have been using something that kind of sounds like this melody on TikTok, and a rapper has a beat with, this melody in it. And it's kind of, this is my melody. Maybe he just thought it was a song that's been around forever. This is my melody. So you establish that it's your melody. And then, of course, the reaction to all of this is like, wow, that's screwed up. Ken Dog needs to pay up. Now, that's the audience's reaction. I understand that wasn't.
Sure. But granted, listen, people had already been having this reaction to Ken Dog before. I didn't know what Ken Dog's song was until all the people were sending me TikToks of other people using that same melody.
Yeah.
And so then I had to investigate it. And yeah, I was incorrect by saying this is my original melody, and I didn't realize that until the Chicky Morena thing came up. I think that I still think you're very wrong on Miss Susie had a steamboat, but that doesn't really matter. That's just nitpicking.
Well,
if Reactor and I need to be the judges here, we do need to have like the thesis statement of what we're really judging.
Okay, all right. Let me sing the Knife Game. Let me sing the Knife Game in the tune of Miss Susie Had a Steamboat.
Okay.
Oh, I have all my fingers. The knife goes chop, chop, chop. Wait, how the fuck does Miss Susie have a steamboat go? Dum dum bum bum.
It's
bum,
kinda
bum,
like the
bum,
knife
bum,
game.
bum, bum, bum,
You got it.
Dum dum
It's like
dum 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 dum. Oh, I have all my fingers. The knife goes chop chop chop, and then I'm just going back into Miss Susie had a steamboat.
The melody does sound different.
It
oh wait, what's it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But yeah, I have all my fingers. The knife goes chop, chop, chop.
Okay.
If I miss
I'll
the
play it again.
spaces,
I got it on my speaker.
fingers will come off.
Let's see. Oh no, where to go?
Now, is this the melody shootout?
Yeah, I've got the I've got the shootout version
So here's what I'm saying. The shootout version, I think, does not sound
because
is not honest to the melody that Miss Susie had a steamboat does.
because I think you actually had it. It sounded like the melody shootout. I'll play it again here. Where's? Oh wait, no, that's the dreidel song. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, heaven forbid we rip off the Jews.
That's not right either. That's both of them at the same time.
No, that's
Let's
it.
try that again.
Oh,
hang
was
on,
it?
hang on. That was the knife game and Miss Susie at the same time. Let's not do that. So that's the melody
that
shootout.
beginning-
When I hear that, I don't think of the knife game at all.
I mean, yeah, Monkey, if
Her
you're the
steamboat
judge,
had a bell.
would you say that sounds similar?
No, I don't think what he just played sounds like the knife game at all.
Listen, Monkey's not on my side here, but
I mean, I'm on
So-
Gonzo's side for a bunch of other shit. I think the Susie Steamboat is the weakest.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. Like, it seemed like that was
Well, and I
the
I
hardest one
agree
to
with
lean
you. I
on.
agree with you. It is the weakest, like, association. Yeah.
You know what I think it is? I think it's because the second bar completes the first bar in both of the songs.
yeah.
it's
They're,
like-
well, they're in
and
the
They
same
both
key.
they're both walking songs. They walk up and down.
and they go from C to G if they're in the key of C. And so there's only two chords.
Like you get closure for the first bar from the same, and the first bar sounds similar, right?
So even in the in your video, you said someone had also said it sounds like the dreidel song, and I'd seen that comparison too.
Yeah.
And this is where I think the ignorance of people's unrefined ears, like if they hear that it's in the same tempo and it sounds roughly like the same, they get the same feeling of it, like, oh, it's joyous, there's two keys. That's all they really focus in on. And it's like, well, no, but the actual notes are different. If in the same key, the progressions well, the chord progressions are probably roughly the same, but the note progressions are easily different. And that's just a melody. But I think you're right, though. I think your points about you should not be able to copyright a melody does make sense, despite the whole thing of the potential 75 billion combinations of using a single octave with 10 notes in the melody. It's dumb to try to focus in on like 6 different things, like the won't back down and won't you stay with me, or what there was another one that well, it doesn't matter, because that's such a small and minor nitpicky thing that a lot of songs obviously will use. But one of your other points that it seems like you take this the next step further is you say, okay, so if you shouldn't be able to copyright a melody, you say you're kind of out with copywriting music at all. And so I wonder
Yes.
how much of a song can you absolutely mimic before it seems like that may cause a problem, or like step on someone's ownership or
Well,
their
I would say
creative
before
intellectual property.
I think before Gonzo, before you answer that question, if you could maybe elaborate a bit on your philosophy of art in general, because it seems like it might boil down to that. I know earlier you compared music to like math equations, and I feel like some people might not philosophically agree with that. So I guess if you could just
Well,
explain where you're coming from.
Yeah. Well, like that lawyer in that TED talk, right? He, because that was the point that he made, right? But essentially, you can number all of the notes, and essentially, a melody is just playing these different numbers, using these numbers in various different sequences, right?
Well, yeah,
And-
but if I take the Mona Lisa and I put it in Microsoft Paint, it is just a series of pixels that I could
with,
just
like,
copy.
measured out spaces in between each color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but art is a little bit more complicated. With music, again, all you have are the 12 notes, right? And the notes.
Do you
again,
listen to Stravinsky?
I'm talking. Wait, what? What about Stravinsky?
Like Stravinsky, you can say like music is not that complicated. I mean, maybe in the context of Miss Susie Had a Steamboat or the Knife Game song, but music can be incredibly complicated.
Well, yeah. If you make
You got to make harmonies. Also.
Like for example, it would be incredibly unlikely for somebody to create an album of the exact same length and of the exact same notes and structure as the entire what's it called, like Everywhere at the End of Time by The Caretaker. Like do
you like
I'm
that?
not familiar.
I heard it one time, but it's just like,
I actually really enjoyed it. I've listened to it a few times.
yeah, I haven't heard it all the way through, admittedly, but
Yeah, I haven't done the whole thing, but like the main melody that they keep repeating, I really
Yeah.
enjoy.
yeah, no, it's a beautiful album until it gets pretty crazy, but it's beautiful in that way as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, it would be incredibly unlikely for somebody to make something exactly like that in the exact same way, using the same melody and the same structure. Maybe pieces of it for sure. But even then, I don't think, art, I don't think anything should be copyrighted at all.
So you're a
That's like
musician.
extreme.
I don't know if we've. Yeah, well, it is
Yeah.
extreme. This is what I'm interested. So you're a musician, and I think you have some original songs on your channel. Are they originals?
Yeah. I've written loads of them.
So I mean, all right. This is also going to come down to more philosophy about music, but if I was to take, say, a melody from that song and use it in a song of my own, then it's like, all right, that's arguable. But then what if I take the exact chords and play them on the exact instrument and use the same pacing and the same timing, and I essentially just do an exact replica to the best of my abilities of one of your songs, and then I sell it as my own.
And give no credit.
Yeah, and give no credit because you don't own that, and so there's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't care. Like if somebody, like if you or anybody takes something that I've written and, they essentially just recreate it, or, I mean, if they just if somebody just blatantly takes the recording and just re-uploads it, then obviously you could be like, come on, dude.
Well,
but
let's
I'm still
be
not
honest
gonna
here.
sue.
If we can all put
What if
our
you can't
cards
tell
on the
the difference?
table, Rusty is nearing 2 million subs, and he is just desperate for content to post. So if you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
make a list of your best songs that he could steal, I think that would
You can
really
steal
be
all,
helpful.
like I said,
to him.
I'm releasing all of everything I create into the public domain. That is the mission.
There you go, Rusty.
Now, but then, all right, let's elaborate on that. So that's compositional, but you said you kind of took some grief if someone re-uploaded your exact song. To what degree would the recording? Because that's still intellectual.
No,
property.
I don't take.
What,
I don't
what if
take,
I react to your song?
let me yeah well, let me specify. I don't actually like I'm not gonna do anything about it, but I'm just saying that it's kind of like, if somebody you could, like with a short story, if somebody took a short story and they put their own name on it, I mean, it's kind of a scummy thing. I mean, it's like, or like you see these channels where they literally just take other people's videos. It's not like a reaction or anything. I mean, that's its own thing, but they just take the raw videos and they just re-upload them.
Yes.
I don't think you should put someone in jail for that. I don't think you should be able to sue them for that. But I think just kind of at a personal level, I think it is kind of, it's kind of scummy. I think it's scummy.
What about this?
Yeah.
So if you're saying not put them in jail, that's the extreme in the sense of, say, I want to take them to court. But another way to go about that, someone re-uploads my exact video. I go to YouTube and I say, I file a whatever copyright takedown. Then they have 7 days to take down that video unless they want to dispute it. And if I go back again from their disputation, or then we can take it into court. And at that point, we're moving it upscaling it to a point where they're going to have to pay money for a trial. I'm going to have to pay money for a trial. And if they can't pay out, eventually that would lead to them going to jail. But that's if they really wanted to fight it. That's completely different than just having them take it
Wait, what are they
down.
going to jail for? Not having money?
Yeah, to pay the
Well-
court fees or to show up. I don't know.
Well, it's a slippery slope with the Case Act that was signed in, I believe, last year.
What's that?
The Donald Trump. You can look into it. He signed in. I'm okay with the Donald, but I'm not okay with the Case Act. That whole thing is kind of really dumb. But a lot of people criticized it because they were talking about how it's it's giving money to all these other countries. Meanwhile, it's an absolute mess here in America, and people were talking about that. But one thing that they slipped into it was copyright small claims, and they also put into there, I believe, now it's a felony. They can actually charge you, as a felon, if you
for small claims copyright.
no, not just for small claims, but actually if you use copyrighted music in a live stream, you can now get
Good. They should go to jail. They need to pay me if they're going to use my melodies that I copyrighted, or else they need to fucking rot in jail. That's what I'm saying. But
Is that
I
what
see
is
we
that
might
what you
disagree on
believe?
that. No, of course not. Again, like I said, I think that you should still have ownership of intellectual property, and there probably should be some repercussion available to you if someone, say a big corporation, wants to just completely take your recordings or your composition, re-record it, make a record, sell it for millions of dollars. You get nothing, no recognition, no nothing. And I mean, I guess this is where I'm curious about, like, why you think that should at least be acceptable. So
Well-
we were talking before the podcast, and you mentioned, I don't know if, you said you're a busker or street musician.
Yeah.
True. Now, is that what you do for a living?
That's one of the things that I do for a living. I'm generally just an artist.
Right. Well, and so
do you play your own music or other people's?
Both. I'll do covers sometimes.
Have you ever covered
ever
a
wanna
Rusty Cage
scale that up?
song on the street?
You bet I have.
What Rusty Cage songs do you
You
perform?
bet I absolutely.
probably
Well,
the fidget spinner song.
it was yeah, the fidget spinner song. No, I'm trying to let me think, because it's actually been a while. I think it was
the lives of flies. I
did the
think
lives
I'm
of
by.
flies.
White
Yeah,
girls fuck dogs.
white girls F dogs. Yeah.
So are you okay with like what if you wanted to make a living? Like, I was glad whenever I could actually make any sort of money from music, because it freed me up from having to work and use cell phones, which is not really where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And it would be such a fucking huge mess if I had no ownership over my own songs, and say Spotify just says, we own this song now, and in this world that you're hypothetically saying, where there's no intellectual property ownership, Spotify could just, anything I can create, they can just bank off of it, and then I get nothing, and I'm just back to selling used cell phones.
Well, I think that's a myth that I bought into it ages ago, but it was
That's
it's this
exactly
myth
what
that
happened
you
with
need
Napster.
copyright to make money off of what you create, or that there's no incentive to create anything if you can't protect it in some way.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you need it in order to create. I'm saying that's what's essentially stopping these companies. The fact that it exists is what protects artists from allowing these companies to just take whatever they want and sell to whoever they want and to what quantities.
But your copyright registration didn't stop Ken Dog from having his song, right? What did it protect you
I'm
from?
not really sure. Well, listen, if I really wanted to take it to court, then possibly, and here's where the hangup would be, is I would need to absolutely prove that there's no earlier recordings of that same melody, and then I would fail because they would bring up Chicky Morena, and then I would look like an asshole who just spent a shitload of money trying to fucking take down an up-and-coming rapper and independent artist who somehow is signed to Universal Music Group, but whatever.
So
Also,
go
they
to
would just keep me in court.
GoFundMe.com for Rusty's legal battle. Because
No, see,
we're gonna do this, but we're not gonna pay
Well,
for it.
Okay, so then the question comes: if you don't want to sue, right, and maybe let's say you never want to sue, then what's the point? What is the point?
Because if someone takes, I'm not talking compositionally, I'm not talking melody, I'm talking lyrics with the song, and lyrics are probably, I think, even in that video you're talking about, it's a lot harder to accidentally use the exact same combination of words. But if someone was to just use the Knife Game song and sell it as their own without any compensation to me and on a mass scale, and then they could use a copyright to take me down, I would have no recourse against that. They would just win. And so it's protecting me from potentially someone abusing their ability to just use the song however they please and to distribute it and sell it however they please. And on top of that, this might be something you disagree with, but actually I think it is. I do kind of have the entitled sense that if someone is streaming my music or if they download my song, I may be entitled to some sort of financial compensation for the creation and distribution of it.
So do you believe that like every time somebody listens to one of your songs that you should get paid for that?
It depends on it depends because that's
On certain
really
platforms, he should, if people are listening to ads like between each song.
Yeah, sure. It's like a streaming service like Spotify. This is
Or
what
even
keeps
just
them on the
YouTube.
platform. Yeah, this is what keeps them listening to ads, and keeps people buying shit and money rolling into them. So yeah, I don't think that the individual user should necessarily have to pay me because they could download the MP3 and listen to it as many times as they want. I don't care. If they're going through a streaming service, yes, I think that I should get paid for that. And on top of that, there's another aspect. It's kind of obscure now, but not so much. So say you're a bowling alley and you have a jukebox that has, or you're just playing a Pandora stream. Essentially, they'll send goons out to these bowling alleys and say, "Wow, oh, you really like the Rolling Stones? That's odd. Are you subscribed to this type of licensing package that goes through ASCAP or BMI that allows you to pay a certain amount every month in order to play these set amount of songs by these artists? And if not, then you better do it or we'll take you to court." I think that's where it gets a little iffy because it's like ambiance. If it's like a bowling alley or a bar, but also on top of that, if it's a jukebox. Sorry. Let me go back. On top of that, Pandora should be the ones paying the artist. Whoever's streaming the songs as the company should pay the artist, not necessarily the individual streaming it or the company or say a local business who's using Spotify to play these musics. I don't think that they should have to be the ones to pay the artist. And I'm sure that could be argued to some degree because I haven't really thought it all the way through. I don't know if this is making sense or I'm just getting like stuck in my own head.
I see what you mean. Because I've thought about that too. Like, yeah, when they, it happens all the time. These bars, the bar owners get sued by big music. Basically, they get sued by the labels or the ASCAP. Yeah, all that.
Yeah. So your question to me was, should artists be paid every time someone listens to their song? And yeah, to wrap it up, yes, if it's through a company that makes money from streaming that play.
Mm-hmm. So what about the people who will, inevitably they'll take your songs and they'll make nightcore versions of them, or they'll just re-upload it as like a lyrics video.
This happened recently. So this happened with two of my videos, two songs that I think my videos of them have maybe 3 million and like 2.5 million views. I saw that someone had uploaded lyric versions of it, same song, just with lyrics on it. And for some reason that got into Google's registry and they had like 6 million views and 5 million views. I was like, holy shit, they got a shitload more views.
You should have stole their video.
Well, see, and yeah.
And, well, that was a fluke in how Google registers it. I don't know if they had ads on it, but here's one thing how this actually does hurt the individual artist, in this case being me, is whenever someone's looking up my songs, I actually am trying to make money from this by getting ad revenue. YouTube pays me the ad revenue, not the individual listening or watching the video. They just have to sit through 15 seconds of bullshit to listen to the song they want. But now they can go and listen to this re-upload, which shows up first in the search results. If you type in, it's not going to do it now because I took it down, but if you had typed in There Isn't Any God, someone else's video would pop up with more views. That's the first one people are going to click rather than.
Wait, so if somebody
my
gets more
audio
views
version.
than you actually do take down the video?
No. Well, sometimes, yeah. Actually, probably most of the time, if it's an exact
Oh,
upload.
shit. I mean, if
No,
I
and
can
here's-
remember, I think
here's
I've
why.
never taken down a video in my whole life. I'm better than you.
Well,
Well, because I'm also trying to get money from these views equate to ad revenue, and ad revenue is what pays my electric bill at the end of the day.
But Rusty, at some point, doesn't the importance, the influence of the music being heard by the masses, isn't that more important than your $8
Yeah, right, yeah.
in
I
ad
was going to
revenue?
say, Ken Dog
Pay
probably
artists and
yeah.
influence. Sure. I'll pay you with exposure. That's the oldest
But
cliche
Rusty,
in
you're
art.
posting a fucking 2-minute song. Like,
Well,
how much does that really make in ad revenue? Like
here's
8
the thing.
cents.
There's a problem with the exposure thing, right? Because there's a difference between a product and a service, right? So if you offer, now you can do a service for free for exposure, right? But the safer bet is to do that with your product, because the product is infinite. You know, people can copy it, people can share it, it doesn't cost you your time or even your money to like share a song, right? Because you don't have
Well,
to
it definitely
make the
does
song.
cost money to host a song and distribute it on the internet.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I know
Costs
what
money
to do. I know what
record
to
it.
do. I came up with a solution, Rusty. In all future music, the lyrics to your songs should just be like self-promotion and advertisements and shit. So if the lyrics to your songs are go to patreon.com/RustyCage, then when people rip off your music and post a lyric video, you're still going to profit from it.
Yeah, I believe Logan Paul already did this.
What?
No!
No! Really?
Yeah, he had that song "Buy My Merch."
Oh, whatever. I think
Buy
my
my
idea is
merch.
funnier. I cannot let Logan Paul think he had this idea before we did. It's not fair, and Rusty's going to do it.
Well, Gonzo, you were
Yeah.
on to something, I think.
Well, yeah, with kind of, I guess I'll talk about the kind of restricting things, right? But I think, like, for example, Ken Dog, I don't know if you could track it or you could find out. It's kind of like with piracy, because artists always blame piracy. It's like, oh, like what happened with Chuck Palahniuk, right? He wrote Fight Club, and all of a sudden the money stopped coming in. He's like, where'd it go? And he blamed it on piracy, and he went on like a huge like anti-piracy, rant or whatever. And he was telling his fans,
Wait,
stop.
are you in favor of piracy?
Am
I
I
am.
Am I in favor of piracy? Well,
Uh-huh.
it's
Are you not, Rusty?
Not if it's me on the other end of it. No.
I mean, how much?
maybe that's the.
how
that's
many
the
times have
piracy,
you
I'll admit.
illegally streamed a movie? Daily?
Quite often, and
Yeah, so what's
but I
the
know I'm taking a
difference?
risk there.
well,
Like,
okay.
the whole time you've been trying to say, Gonzo School, I'm no hypocrite. You'll never pin me as a hypocrite. And now finally the truth comes out.
Listen, if I support
Piracy
it,
for me, but not for thee, motherfucker. Piracy, coke 4K.
if I support the if I actually enjoy it and I'm like, I mean, of course I'll buy the movie, I'll pay for it. And for the most part, they make it, so it's a lot more difficult to pirate something. But yeah, as a smaller artist, obviously no one's going to be like putting your music up all over these piracy websites. But shit like that can cut into expense, like shit that you need to live. And I mean, obviously,
Yeah, but
it
at
became
some
kind of a
point, isn't
meme.
it old man
Well-
yelling at cloud when you
Well, but-
complain about piracy on the internet?
hold up with that though, right? Because with Chuck Palahniuk, right, he blamed the piracy, for his loss and money and everything. But what it was actually his publisher embezzling the funds.
Oh,
behind
shit.
his
Oh,
back.
that's right. Yeah.
And
Right.
and so it wasn't. So he actually kind of was like, "Well, sorry guys, it looks like this was the issue." And
Sorry, pirates.
yeah, sorry, pirate.
Well, I mean,
Well-
if you're gonna make enemies, you probably don't want to make enemies with people with that lack of morality
your
to begin
pirates
with.
are your fans. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Pirates are your
they're so
fans.
Yeah.
desperate that they'll break the law to enjoy your work.
Now, see, my opinion on piracy is that it shouldn't be illegal, and I think people should also support the artists that they enjoy, that they appreciate. And so, maybe a lot
Are
of
you still
people
there?
who do pirate, they
Sorry.
buy the merch, right?
Okay, so yeah, but let me take this to what actually happened and where piracy became a bigger issue. Is it's not the individual pirating again, it's companies like, all right, so there's a company that's based out of where I'm from. It's called Groove Shark. Groove Shark got into a lot of trouble because they were just streaming people's songs without
I used
getting
to
any sort
love
of rights
that
to it.
website, dude. Are you gonna
Well,
be
I'm sure they loved it
anti-Groove
too.
Shark?
Because they made a shitload of money off just streaming other people's music. They were essentially pirating it and then streaming it and getting paid for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with
Now,
that. I
that's-
think piracy should be illegal to profit from, but like the common man on Pirate Bay, is anybody really profiting from that?
Now, here's
P2P
what do you
sharing
consider
shit?
profit? Is profit the opposite of lack?
I
Cost?
define profit as I'm stealing somebody's thing and making money off of it.
But what if you take something and then I don't make money off of it that I would have? Now here's I know
That
where
sounds
this
like
is
your
gonna go,
problem.
because these are non-physical goods, as Gonzo describe it. They're non-physical goods that can be duplicated and replicated digitally without actually losing a single physical piece of inventory.
Oh yeah, and the
So
argument I also hear is that, well, I pirated that because I wasn't going to pay for it anyway. So can't they just say that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and they can, and that would be fair. There's no
Yeah, so
loss of
really
anything
you
at
can't
that
prove
point.
that you
Because
lost anything.
All pirating really does, because people, again, the music industry and all these, big corps and stuff, they say it costs them money, even though they can't really track it. They can't really tell you how much they lose. They're just guessing most of the time.
And
Yeah,
their
unless there
guess,
was a-
like they assume every single pirate would have paid full price when they make their estimate.
Exactly.
It's such fucking bullshit.
Hold on, Gonzo. Let me ask you this in the context of something not art related, but software. Say Photoshop is trying to sell Photoshop. It's a digital thing. Unfortunately for them, it's not a physical thing that you can actually steal from their house and hold in your hands. Now, if someone was like, "Oh, well, I wasn't going to pay for it anyways," do you think that the ability to not protect against themselves on that intellectual property basis, and for anyone just to download it because it's not a physical thing, that's, in my opinion, that clearly would cause a loss of revenue and sales for them?
I'll put it to you this way. If Photoshop didn't have any type of legal restriction on it, Photoshop would be way better than it is right now. It would have way more capabilities. It would be absolutely insane. And also there wouldn't be nearly as many complaints about it as there are now. And the reason I say that is because the problem with Adobe is obviously, anybody who uses Adobe, they know about this, but they went from saying, hey, you can buy our software one time and you own it, to now you have to pay a subscription.
I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah. And because they have a monopoly, and that's what copyright is, it is essentially a monopoly on an intellectual property. You are at the mercy.
But it's their intellectual property. Like, you don't have to keep subscribing. You're not at anyone's mercy as long as you're not forced to have to pay them. You don't have to use Photoshop. You don't have to listen to a song and pay a subscription fee to Spotify every month in order to listen to a wide variety of music. No one's holding you hostage. That's still your financial choice to do. And that's their financial decision to implement it that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there have been alternatives to Photoshop that have come out, right? And they're not that.
Yeah, just use those.
Yeah,
So
well,
you're not
yeah.
held hostage by Adobe.
Yeah, I mean, you can use those, but again, what I'm saying is that, that's also less money for Photoshop if people don't like their business model, right? And so so there's basically their business models, talking about them specifically, only hurts them by restricting it. Now, yes, if they made it open source, anybody could go in and they could take Photoshop, they could republish it themselves, they could make it better. But you also see the same thing with like look at GIMP, look at Blender. I mean, now Blender, they don't make money. I mean, it's not like a for-profit organization, right? But
Blender is a 3D.
Yeah, it's a 3D, 3D modeling. You know, you could make animations with it, motion graphics. It's pretty crazy, and the features are absolutely insane now. It's only gotten better. But there aren't really any competitors to Blender. I mean, there are in the sense of like, you know, you can get like Maya or like the other old industry software, but Blender has just it's coming close to single-handedly annihilating all of these other softwares.
Like Cinema 4D.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, you know, and people aren't really interested in like making their own. Some people have made their own versions of Blender, but it's like a really small thing, right? So they'll make Blender, but for like animators specifically, and they'll tweak certain things about it to make it more friendly for animators. But it's not hurting Blender to have it open source. In fact, Blender is just becoming larger and more unstoppable, and it's free, and they can never force you to, you know, buy a subscription or do anything with it. Now, if somebody else,
how do they make money?
How do they make? By donations, by patronage. People donate to them, and it's the same thing with Kevin MacLeod. I've talked to him before. He's the royalty-free music guy. He's like the guy you hear in every single video on YouTube. He has made thousands of songs, and he makes them under a Creative Commons license, and he doesn't charge anybody a dime to use the music.
Let's go on this because this is an interesting thing. So on say Kevin MacLeod, he makes his music and he puts it out for free and people give him money. What's really is the moral difference from me making music? First off, I put it up on YouTube for free. It doesn't cost anyone anything but 15 seconds of watching an ad to listen to it. But then if they want the song, they can go to Bandcamp or iTunes and purchase it. They're still giving me money in support, and they get a product in return.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to, they don't have to. They can listen to it for free.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing objectionable about charging money for music. And I mean, Kevin MacLeod, he charges money for commissions all the time. He does scores for films and things like that. So
do you think that you should charge money for something that you don't own? Do I think that you should be able to charge money for something that I don't own? Because you say that there should not be intellectual property rights. So I don't necessarily under this world, under this idea, I wouldn't own my music.
Because I can take a copy of Alice in Wonderland and I can publish it myself, and I can add nothing to it, and I could sell that. I don't think there's anything wrong with. Again, it's not about making the money. It's not about.
Reactor would probably get a tattoo about it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with selling or capitalizing, and the problem is the monopolizing. So then you turn around and say restrictions for you and you and you and everybody.
Yes, yeah.
So that's the problem.
I agree. I agree with you. So we're starting on opposite ends and it's like there's got to be a line somewhere. So you're starting from the end of like, all right, I'm a guy, I made the Knife Game song. I'm going to say Ken Dog is not allowed to do it. I'm going to sue him and everyone that used that melody to restrict their creative freedom over something that's objectionably a melody that just exists in the ethos. But if they use the melody and then more of the song and then the lyrics too, and then duplicate the recording, and at some point it starts to step on my toes and I don't actually have to reach out to them to make a case that something that I don't have a claim on the intellectual property, if that makes sense. Like like at some point, if you just keep following that train of thought, oh, it's just the melody. It's 3 notes. Now it's 5 notes. Now it's the entire melodic structure. Now it's the whole underlying chord process. Now it's the instruments used and the pacing and rhythm and the lyrics on top of it. Then someone has just created my exact same product, and it's a popularity contest at that point because whoever has the most people they're able to deliver that product to or to distribute it to is the one who's gonna win out in the end. And I think that's a weird game for something like, even if someone doesn't think that you should own art, what's stopping, like Mumpy said, just someone repainting the Mona Lisa and saying, well, I mean, I guess you can repaint the Mona Lisa, but that's art.
But if he tried to file a copyright on it and say, "Oh, well, I own I can draw the Mona Lisa and paint, so I own it now."
Yeah, that does seem like there's like some iffy
It wouldn't
things
be
when it comes to
exactly the
painting.
same.
Because it wouldn't be exactly the same, and the music, it wouldn't also be exactly the same. But,
well, yeah,
okay,
I mean,
all right.
Rusty, you could give me the sheet music and I'll never make a song that sounds exactly like yours, even with the same notes.
Let me try this. So I make a comic book, and I'm relatively unknown as a comic book person. Now, if say someone who is in the industry sees my idea and says, "Wow, that's really good," I bet I'm just gonna draw it as close to exactly as he's already done it. Use all the same dialogue, all the same storytelling, colors, and everything. Same name, Requiem of the Crazies, and I'm gonna sell it as my own. Yes, that would be scummy, but should I not have any sort of legal or some sort of like way of disputing that and fighting against it?
I think, well, first of all, I think the audience isn't dumb in the sense that like they want to support the artists that they appreciate.
Yeah, but what if they
right?
don't even know I'm the artist? It's a completely different audience. This person has a whole different fan base who's never heard of me at all, so they think that this is an original thing by that other creator.
If somebody just takes your work and they copy it blatantly, and you know it's just basically a ripoff, and they're just unoriginal, they're using your work, then you can definitely go out there and say, hey, like this is, you know, hey, they just took this. I'm like, I spent a long time working on this. You know, I'm the original creator of this, and you can come out and say that, and I think that's fine. I think the problem
but
is
no one even listens. You have no reach. You can't do it. There's no one to even hear you. That's the yelling at the clouds. You're just saying, "Hey, that's mine."
Well,
and
I mean, you're
there's
not
no
yelling,
one around you
you're
saying,
not
"Who
yelling
gives
at
a
the
shit?"
clouds.
Well, I don't mean me specifically. I mean just
you're talking
in
about the little
general.
guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if like, you know, because I'm small beans, if somebody takes, you know, my work, for example, which I don't care, you can take my work, anybody can, and use it. I will not sue. I will not pursue anything.
Well, now, if somebody does take one of your songs and makes $10 million tomorrow, are you going to change your tune?
No, because I didn't.
No?
No. And that may sound absolutely
Wouldn't that make
insane.
you the copyright cuck?
Listen, Gonzo's a lot more punk rock. He's got the artistic integrity.
Everybody is when they're broke.
No.
If this
No,
motherfucker missed out on
That's what I'm saying.
millions, you kidding me? I would sue.
Well, no, because I'll tell you, because I've seen this happen with a lot of different people, a lot of writers, musicians, and stuff. And I've seen these disputes where there's two sides of the argument. You know, somebody says, you know, the person who's stealing is promoting the artist, but it's kind of scummy. But it's like, what's going on here? If somebody took my work and they made $1 million off of it, well, I mean, if I'm the original guy who made the song and I can prove it, I don't need to go to court to say, you know, I just tell people, hey, I wrote it. I actually created this song that somebody took and made $1 million with. And they say, wow, you're the guy who made that? Maybe I'll check out your stuff.
Okay,
that doesn't make you $1 million.
But no, here's saying it doesn't make me $1 million.
Example.
Okay, what's Rusty's example?
This happened. You might have heard of a song. It was written by a guy, I think in probably like the mid 90s or something. There's recordings of him singing it. It's a children's song. It's called Baby Shark. And he He made zero money from it. No one gives a fuck about this dude because he's just some like he's like Raffi, like just like this guy plays kids music to children. But Baby Shark makes billions and trillions of dollars
from like
And
Indonesian
they're not,
bot farms that are making weird animated videos.
They're not rushing over to watch this artist because, oh, well, maybe he's got some other good kids songs. Maybe he got like his exposure is probably limited to, who knows, 5,000 people. And now he has to sue. He's trying to get the rights of it.
Oh, he is?
But he has to sue a company worth hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to happen.
If he was like Gonzo, he'd say, good, let him have it. I'm going to go back to watching my wife get fucked.
Because here's the thing. If somebody makes money off of, we'll just say myself as an example.
Okay.
If somebody uses my work and they make $1 million off of it, clearly they are able to capitalize on my work in a way that I am not able to. And it's the same thing with movies, all these different things.
Why aren't you able to?
Because I don't have the resources or the marketing money or, all these different factors.
It doesn't necessarily take that to capitalize off of something. I mean, just
you need an audience. You need other people in order to make money.
I didn't have any fan base when the Knife Game song was on the internet for 2 years before it blew up. I had zero fan base.
Yeah,
that was luck, but you've had to put yourself out there.
Yeah, but you've had to work to like maintain what you have and make money off of it, right? Like you couldn't just sit there and do nothing. You have to make more music. You have to engage your audience. You have to put work into producing wealth from your creation.
Yeah, but it's like you're saying like you'd have to have no interest in that to say that someone can't, and therefore someone who has the ability, say a big company who can market your song out and use it and make all the money because you don't have this empire built underneath you. That doesn't seem like a good reason for them justifying them doing that.
Well, another thing I will add to this, right, is because with these big companies, right, I'll use this in the context of publishing. This happens all the time. There are great writers, and this generation of kids growing up today aren't going to know who these people are. And the reason why is because they're now dead, and they gave the rights to their work to their family or to the corporations, to the publishers.
You're talking about Hitler?
Yeah, Hitler's now public domain. Yeah, but...
True.
But yeah. And so
you agree with Hitler on that aspect, at least.
Well, what I don't think did Hitler talk about copyright?
Well, hey, now that Reactor is messaging us saying that he got so bored he's leaving the podcast.
Shit, is this boring? Fuck, man.
Reactor's
I'm really into
Reactor's
this shit.
leaving, so I don't know.
Reactor,
if even a host can't handle it, is everybody in the audience going to be bored? Should we just let you guys keep going?
What are you talking about?
About how it's...
So our Mumpke's bored.
No, I'm not
Mumpke's
bored.
So he's blaming it on
Reactor's
you.
leaving because he's bored. I'm still here.
Who did it first?
I think we have.
I'm not leaving.
I think we have covered quite a bit of things. Like I definitely have a better understanding of your opinion on, because I was interested in that. Like your opinion on just not owning intellectual property. I feel like that would cause it's just open to predation from bigger people.
Because here's part of the problem, right? Is that the big corp? I agree with you on the big corps. Like there's zero debate about that. The big corps are, they make a mess out of this whole thing. They're the ones who are really, really abusing things. The artists are doing it too, but it's largely because of what they've been taught and what everybody else is doing. And so these big corps are like, they're using the content management system on YouTube, and that's a whole other mess. And they're using, there's stuff on Spotify and all these just big company after big company. It's a huge network, and it's kind of like a mafia, honestly, in a lot of ways. It's really screwed up. I don't know any.
And it really is.
Yeah, like I don't know anybody who says anything good about the music industry unless they've just totally sold their soul.
Yeah. Good cocaine and underage girls.
Well, I think it's time, before Reactor gets so bored that he dies, we do need to have a winner of this epic blood sports debate that I hosted. So, Reactor, you are Judge Dredd right now. Whose career?
I think I won.
Whose career is forever ruined between Gonzo and Rusty, and who will continue to thrive? And they can steal all the music from the other guy and repost it as their own, and be the true copyright cuck king.
I don't think either of them can do anything about it.
So they're both the copyright cuck?
Yeah, probably.
Who's the real winner? You?
But I think Rusty's going to do a lot better.
Well, you're the winner because they just debated. You're still going to get paid for this episode. So who really won? You didn't have to do anything.
It sure would be a shame if someone just downloaded this episode and re-uploaded it on 100 different channels
For free?
Because then we wouldn't
really bad.
we wouldn't get our 57 cents an
Well, hey,
episode.
before we wrap up and before Gonzo does his plug, I do want to talk about our little, the channel rivalry we had going on for a little bit. What was your reaction when your comment section blew up one day of people saying Rusty Cage is furious and pissed and he's like screaming on his podcast right now?
Oh, what was my reaction? I boomered out. I was like, where are these comments even coming? Where are these people coming from?
I don't understand.
And so it was great.
It was all actually me on a bunch of my different sock puppet accounts.
Well, did
And
you
I
think it was
discovered-
funny? Like, did you really think Rusty was pissed? What went through your head when you saw that happening?
Oh, when the first time it happened, suddenly all these comments were coming in after the video had kind of been stagnant for a while. It was kind of like, it's like, what? Where? They've got to be coming. Somebody talked about this somewhere. It's like Rusty hasn't uploaded a video. Who's doing this? And I realized y'all had a podcast. And so that's how I discovered y'all's podcast. It was good promotion. And then, as soon as, I got wind that Rusty was pissed, I was like, well, I guess,
Seething.
yeah. I mean, I'm like, well,
I was unable to cope, actually,
Yeah.
I believe.
it's
We actually
game on.
edited out a lot of what Rusty was saying.
He was caught in 8K, but we had to downgrade the footage a little bit. It wouldn't fit on YouTube.
Too high resolution. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't want to get banned.
Yeah. We had to settle for 4K.
Well, see,
Well, okay.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say originally I was only going to agree to do this, to have this conversation just through the comments section. So we just send other people to our videos to reply after the next person debates. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. Well. So here's what I would say to our audience, because I'm sure the views on that, at least that second one, are inappropriate, or the ratings are inappropriate.
No, people gave it. People were pretty nice with the thumbs up on his video.
Well, I think they should give it more thumbs up because you actually did a very diligent job of going through, making your case. And there's no reason to thumbs down a video just because Miss Susie has a steamboat. Doesn't sound like the Knife Game
No,
song,
I think
in
our
my opinion.
audience was fully aware that it was more trolling you, Rusty, than trolling Gonzo. So I don't think anybody was like downvote brigading the video or anything. I think it was more like, let's convince this guy that Rusty is pissed.
Well, either way, you have some videos on your channel. You put your music up there. I listened to a few songs. They're really good. You have a very interesting singing voice, which I don't understand.
Is interesting
how you do it.
the
It
right
seems-
word you want to use?
Well, it's good. It's good. It's like how the fuck do you do that from your speaking voice?
like what song specifically, or like is there?
Fuck.
Is there
If
like
Susie has a
tone?
steamboat?
I don't
sing
know.
something
I don't
for
know.
us?
But you have good music on your page. I think people should go and check out.
I appreciate it.
Um,
and again, like a lot of people thought it was like personal, like like I have a hate boner for you or something.
Dude, you know how these fucking kids are. You could tell them, no, there's no hate, and they're gonna be like, but there has to be, so I can fight against it. Like,
Well, Gonzo, you did
they
tell me in
want a
private
war.
you wanted to end Rusty's career, and I did share that on the episode a few times.
This is
Have you changed your mind or something?
Well, I mean, I never
Wait,
said
wait.
that, so I mean,
Oh.
maybe.
Wait, so you said that to Monkey? Okay.
No, I said
Okay, well, I take it
I
back.
said this was going to be this wasn't going to be a debate. It was going to be a racist hoedown.
A racist hoedown. I like it.
Yeah, Reactor, which of these two do you think is more racist?
Well, what race are you, school?
As white as it gets.
The human race.
That means no race, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Hey, can I say this about the also in your initial video, you did at one point out that the coronavirus song sounds like the log song.
That's right. Yeah.
Was that not 100% clear that it was like a parody of Slinky?
Well, I know
end?
the log song was a parody of Slinky, but I don't believe that your parody of that parody is a parody.
I even made it like I was going after the Slinky song. Like I went back and I tried to make the video look like it was a 60s commercial. Like even the beginning, it's the hottest new toy in town or whatever they say in the Slinky thing. Like I was all right. I don't think anyone really cared. I thought people got that. If not, whatever. The coronavirus song is cringe anyways, but on top of it,
it's also your third most recent video.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I guess I have to get back into the studio. Well, I guess we could wrap this up. Do you have plugs? Are you active online or kind of just doing internet as a hobby
he does
what?
have a YouTube channel.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, just Gonzo School on YouTube. That's the main thing I do right now. And then I also have a channel called Spider Caravan, which is where the other music stuff is put up.
True.
Are you a big fan of the Muppets?
The Muppets. Probably when I was a kid. I haven't seen them recently.
But I mean, is that why you named it Gonzo?
No, not at all.
He's a Gonzo journalist.
Yeah, it's like the guy from
Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah.
So Hunter S. Thompson's a fan of the Muppets.
Generation of Swine.
Well, I guess if there's no more points, we have gone on for quite a while, and I appreciate you.
So
being on
Gonzo
the
School, we
podcast.
need you to record the Clips outro that we play at the end of the Clips videos.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
You got to let everybody
so
know.
what you have to say along the lines of you have just listened to a clip of the podcast. To hear the full episodes, click the link below.
Oh, okay. You have just listened to a clip of the TrashRats podcast. And so now you got to click that Patreon link below and get that shit in 8K and listen right now. You won't be disappointed.
And then also you click the other link to listen to the full episode.
Yeah, and click the other link to listen to the full episode.
All right, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Dang, man, I really wanted you to hear this song that I made specifically for this episode.
Play it through the
you
speakers.
don't have to,
Now,
No,
real quick, could you also say Rusty Cage is not the winner of this debate?
oh yeah, you gotta say that real quick.
Oh, okay. Rusty Cage is not the winner of this debate.
Yeah, that's going to be very easy to edit. He fucked
exactly.
up. You even put his space with the not. So Reactor can so easily edit that shit out.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on. I did not
thanks for
expect
coming.
this at all. So
Rusty was not the winner.
Well, I'm curious. What were you expecting?
nothing, absolutely nothing.
All three of us yelling at you at the same time?
Yeah, did you think we were going to bully you?
I have no, like, I have no, I just want to make a point on copyright. That's really it. And it's kind of a boomer subject, really. It's like who the hell wants to?
This is going to be our lowest rated episode.
I did 2 years in the pen for copyright infringement. I don't know if you knew that.
That's right. Grade A, under A.
I don't think it's going to be the lowest rated episode. I think people actually have an interest in music ownership. Or anyone who's an artist. I mean, this is probably why Mumkey finds it boring because he's.
Well,
I think we can
don't know
fix
if
it
our
in
audience. Does our audience have a bunch of aspiring artists in it, or is it just a bunch of edgy teenagers who were bored at school?
Everybody cares when it's their favorite artist who gets ripped off or whatever, you know?
Right.
So who's Chicky Morena's artist?
God.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Gonzo, for being on. If you enjoy this podcast, be sure to again click the link down below that leads to our Patreon and give us your hard-earned money to listen to our non-physical play of a podcast.
And if you notice that an episode has not been posted on the Google Podcasts or Spotify, the only way to fix that is to just hit Reactor up on Twitter. Just keep spamming him until he remembers to do it.
Sometimes it doesn't take. It's like, all right, we uploaded it, and then it's like people are DMing me like crazy saying, "Oh my God, Reactor, you're so cool. I love you so much."
Hey, it's been 2 months since you updated the podcast feed. Could you please post it there? For some reason, I don't know how to use YouTube. I'm too stupid.
And now I would like to close out this episode with a very brief, it's not the full version, but a very brief, brand new version of the Knife Game song.
Oh, shit.
Shalom, everyone. Let's all play the knife game. I love to stab my hands. I like to play the knife game, but no one understands. You take a shot of whiskey and question if you should. Speak the honest truth that the Jews run Hollywood.